Reviews and revisits, and this is my first reaction to Rebel Moon Part 2. I might do a second edition to this to go through the full movie, but let's get into this first reaction of my watch so far of Rebel Moon Part 2. This movie is stupid. The stupid starts early. So, since Atticus Noble first came to the moon and left his men behind, apparently there are daily updates made to the mothership via video call, right? So the one young soldier, the youngest one that's left, after he helped Cora, I didn't even look up his name. I hardly know any of these people's names without having to look them up. Uh, the one who helped Cora is the one that's still living. He's the one giving the daily updates. Okay, it has to have been weeks, and the command still doesn't see or hear from the commanding officer that was left on the moon, or any of the other guys who are senior to this one young guy who's still left. Yet, they don't know those guys are dead or either taken or in jail. The lowest guy on the totem pole is doing all of the reporting, and they don't figure it out until the last couple days until they come back. This had to have been weeks, and no reporting from anybody. But that's just fine. Just the lowest guy on the totem pole is the only one you hear from, and you don't wonder at all where your men are. Absolutely ridiculous. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Please take a moment to help me out here, help me move through the algorithm. I'd appreciate it. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification. Thanks. All right. So then General Titus shows up, and as soon as he has just gotten there, he's taking charge off the bat. Some guy who the town's leaders haven't so much as had an introduction to yet just says, "Gather your villagers for me," and they just go and do it. Okay, so now they're gathered. Then this village of a few dozen people is supposed to go and beat dreadnoughts. So they gather to hear some guy talk, and just because he's muscular and he stands tall and he speaks with a lot of gravitas like he's Othello, just because of that, they just do whatever this stranger commands them to do. So apparently, they just traded out the Imperium dictatorship for a new dictator. This makes no sense. So then, not even 12 minutes into the movie yet, right? He tells them they must collect 6 months worth of grain in 3 days. This is so stupid. All right. I always thought it was ridiculous how the captains in Star Trek would ask the engineering officer, how fast could they have a fix or enhance the shields or whatever the case may be, and the engineering officer would be like, "It'll take 8 hours," and the captain would be like, "You have three. You have 3 hours to get it done." And no matter which Star Trek series it was, this would always be the case, and they would always get it done. And it was kind of like a running joke, right? This was just a running joke, and you could kind of swallow that, even take it as if the engineer was basically intentionally overstating, dramatically exaggerating how long it was going to take, so they could get it done in a shorter time and then be the hero for getting it done so much earlier than what was predicted. And so you could kind of accept that and suspend disbelief. Okay, again, it became almost like a running joke within the different series that they're always going to ask for this something to be done in a much shorter time. But we're talking about a few hours shorter. You're going to do 6 months worth of work and growing that hasn't happened in 3 days. Just arbitrarily pick 3 days, and now you can just do it in that time period. But again, you could kind of go with it in Star Trek when you're talking about a few hours, but there's no possible way to suspend disbelief that 6 months can arbitrarily be done in 3 days. It's just flat stupid. All right. So the stupid and disbelief doesn't stop there. It keeps going, and you only need to wait like a couple more minutes, and you get more of it. I don't have I don't at all believe in the attraction between Cora and Gunner. It was never set up. that they were building any kind of attraction through the first movie, and there's nothing that happens in this new movie. They just all of a sudden they're kissing, and she's all over him and passionately, digging into his mouth. And this is the same Cora that walks around like an asexual man lady, who I'm supposed to believe has all of a sudden has this burning desire for this man boy who just seconds earlier told her how he has no fight in him and how scary he is. That's what gets a super soldier chick's panties wet. That's what I'm supposed to believe. Okay, just give it a couple more minutes, and we're right into more derivative, overhashed, completely unoriginal, redone tropes. Now we have a magical Princess Isa. Another mystical girl is the key to everything plot. Just Zach can't come up with one thing that's not just completely derivative and a rehash trope. And you don't believe me that this is one of the most rehashed tropes in all of IP? How about this list from decades long IPs of following this trope? Willow 1988, Willow 2023, Waterworld, I forget what year that came out, 1992, 3, 4, something like that. Heroes in 2006, Tomorrowland 2015, The Golden Compass 2007. These were just something I could think of going back 30 years, where this young girl is the key to everything trope is always the center. Some magical young girl. If you just get her, you just have to find the magical young girl. She has the map on her head in Waterworld, and that's why she's the one. And save the cheerleader, save the world in Heroes, and the magical princess baby in Willow, and then she's a magical princess adult in Willow 2023. I mean, just the same trope over and over again. Always some magical young girl who's the key to everything. All right, so Cora proceeds to shoot everyone. Spoiler. I mean, who cares? It's in the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie, and it's stupid anyway. So just take the spoiler and save yourself watching the stupidity. So she proceeds. Cora, when she goes to assassinate the little girl, she proceeds after she kills her and they all grab her. She slowly turns into. First of all, again, this 115-pound little woman. What is her name? Buschetti. I forget the real life actress's name. But this 115-pound girl pulls away from 2 or 3 6'2", 220-pound soldiers. Just easily pulls away from them, grabs a gun, shoots one, turns and shoots the other, There's some guys in the background. She takes all day with her slow motion movements because she's completely unathletic and just slow as hell, as you can see in the trailer that came out for Rebel Moon Part 2, where I talked about that on my Instagram reviews and revisits page. If you want to follow me on there, I do weekly written reviews. Also post some trailers on there with some coverage and reviews of the trailers, as far as along with my movie reviews that are written. But the trailer review to Rebel Moon, and she's slow motion in that part. That's a different part of the movie for Rebel Moon Part 2. I didn't even get to that part in the movie yet. And it's slow motion. It's not the Zack Snyder actual slow motion. Annette Buda, that's not Annette, that's another actress. The actress who plays Cora is just so slow as a person. It's ridiculous. She's unathletic. Yet they have this ridiculous thing where she takes her time, rotating in a circle, shooting people while they stand there and look at her. Instead of shooting her, they wait for her to kill them. They just stand there and look. It is absolutely insane. She's so non-athletic, and even if she was more athletic and was faster, it still couldn't be fast enough to make it sense for 5, 6 guys. The sixth guy, what is the sixth guy rating on as he watches 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people get shot and just stands there and looks and just waits for his turn? I mean, and then not only that, nobody can lay a hand on her even after that, as she escapes the dreadnought. Not one person can lay a hand on her or get to her. Then and not only that, the dreadnought can't shoot her out of space either. So she gets a ship, I guess, and gets off of the dreadnought, and the dreadnought can't shoot her down either. She somehow escapes through space with the dreadnought that she just got off of right there, could laser her out of space, and it just nobody can get a finger on her, nobody can get a laser on her. So then she tells us, I've been living the life of an outlaw ever since. I mean, that was just a lulz. It's like, it's like she's saying, yeah, I'm a real bad dude. I'm dangerous, don't you know? I mean, it's just kind of like that kind of silly thing where somebody's telling you how bad they are. Yeah, you know I'm bad. I'm an outlaw. All of the writing, all of the dialogue, where they're trying to be profound and pronounced, it just all falls flat. It's all ridiculous. It's all just derivative and uninspired. Okay, so then the notion that a few dozen pitchfork slinging wheat harvesters and a fistful of fighters could fight a fleet of dreadnoughts, could even fight one battleship with their single cargo carrier ship, much less a dreadnought carrying a fleet of battle fighters, is patently ridiculous beyond belief. It's just patently ridiculous. This concept doesn't work. It doesn't work. It can't work. It has no merit. It makes no sense. Nobody can believe it. Nobody can believe this and like fall into the movie and just fall in the film like you did when you watch these guys here, when you watched New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, where you just engrossed yourself into what was happening. You can't suspend this type of disbelief. That's why in Star Wars, the Rebel Alliance is always moving planets. And they always moving planets to a secret base where the Empire doesn't know where they are till they find out. And that base is always hidden in the earth or in the mountains, in caves where they can't be readily seen and detected. They're hiding. Because if they're just fighting in one place, the Empire could easily come and destroy them once they know where that place is, even without the Death Star. They could just bomb them, laser them to shreds. That's why you can't just be just sedentary somewhere and fight an empire from a sedentary planet or a sedentary base. It makes no sense. This doesn't work. Zack Snyder just doesn't understand storytelling at all. All he can understand is the visual look of film. That's all he knows about. He has no concept of story and plot and anything that makes any sense. No, that's why this movie should have been. If you wanted to try to do this, it should have been Korra and company going out to link up with like a burgeoning underground rebellion that has battleships to bring to the fight. Then this thing could have kind of made a lick of realistic sense instead of directly copying Seven Samurai and going and getting individual fighters. Whereas in that movie, Samurai, they were just on the ground fighters fighting other humans on the ground. So it makes sense. It's remotely plausible, even against all odds, that these handful of soldiers can get with the townspeople and beat the army of other soldiers because they're all fighting with swords and whatnot on the ground. They're not fighting against the lasers and mechanized battleships and fleets of battleships. It's plausible for that to happen. It makes sense in Seven Samurai. It makes no sense in a space opera. You're going to get a handful of people and some pitchfork wielding hillbillies to fight a space fleet of mechanized battleships with lasers and bombs. It's insane. They got cannons that they even use cannons in this movie. Laser cannons. I mean, I'm thinking like 40 caliber, 70 caliber bullet cannon. They've got laser cannons from ships in orbit. They even show in the movie in Titus's flashback. They blow up his whole fleet of soldiers with a couple of cannon shots. He had more soldiers in that shot than the number of villagers there are. But somehow, now these villagers, these hillbillies with pitchforks, can do better than a whole group of trained soldiers against the same kind of fleet. The movie itself undercuts itself by showing that scene. That scene is exactly all they have to do in this movie to the villagers, is what they did in the scene when Titus's soldiers in his flashback are lined up in a group and just slaughtered, all with a couple of cannon shots. That's all they got to do here at the village. So, in order to try to get around that, uh, Zack Snyder tries to grow a brain cell and get smart and come up with the reason why the Imperium has to come out of their battleships and actually get down on the ground and fight. They put the harvested grain in the village around the buildings in the village so that they can't just bomb the village from the sky, else they destroy the grain. Boy, this must be some magical grain. All the galaxy and everybody is persuaded, including the fighters that Korra recruited. Everybody is persuaded to come fight and die for some grain, a freaking commodity. You can go to Indiana and get some grain. Why don't they just, we're in their galaxy, I think. Why don't they just come to land in Indiana and take some grain? All this for this little moon with a few dozen villagers and the little bit of grain they could possibly plant and harvest. Just makes no sense. But newsflash: if the Imperium gets beaten by the villagers on the ground, they're not going to, just because if they beat the villagers on the ground, then they still don't get the magical super special grain anyway. So if they start to lose, they might as well just return to their ships and bombs away. Duh. So what's the purpose? This is just an incentive to suspend the ground operation and commence with destroying the village from the air. So whatever the ideal, we put the grain around the building so they won't bomb the building so they won't lose the grain. They're going to lose the grain anyway in a fight, and they're going to die trying to fight for it. They might as well stop fighting for it and get back in their ships and just blow it all up and not care. They're not going to get the grain anyway. Why die and not get the grain? It makes no sense. Oh, I mean, it's just crazy, man. Over and over again, everything here is insane. Then it gets worse. They're digging trenches for World War One trench warfare in space. Yeah, this is the thing in this movie. They're literally digging trenches like it's World War One. Their logic for this is to give the element of surprise, what they said during the ground attack. But this isn't pre-Wright brothers battling. The Imperium is coming from space. They're coming from space. They can see the trenches by sight upon entering the atmosphere. But even with the spaceship technology, they can see it from space. We can literally do that right now. You can see stuff on the ground with satellites from space in real life right now. But we're supposed to believe that they just can't see anything, and they're going to be surprised by their World War One tactics. World War One, where they took supply lines and gunners and they moved cannons by horse-drawn buggy. That's how they moved stuff around Europe to get to the battlefield. They attached it to horse-drawn buggy, sometimes man-drawn, wheel like this wheeled machine, and a couple of guys would pull it on each side. That's how they moved their cannons and their equipment around the war scene. And this is the tactics they're using for space battle. Okay, let me get to my notes. I'm almost done here. Yeah, I'm almost done. 18 minutes to talk about this nonsense. So, so basically, I stopped about 41 minutes in. Actually, I stopped my notes about 41 minutes. I watched a little bit longer. That's why I saw the scene about Titus and everybody else going around the table and giving their characterization and their background all in one shot. It wasn't as bad as I had heard it was. But anyway, I'll get to that in part two if I come back to it. But, it 41 minutes in and all of this dumb. This saga is stupid. It's trite. It's pointless. Completely derivative dribble of extremely poor representation of heavily rehashed tropes with no soul. This is just the carcass of grand oratory and inspirational dialogue and the shell of interesting space opera actions and plots that have been done much, much better. Zack Snyder is the king of empty tropes with a veneer of interesting visual. That's all Rebel Moon is. One very long, mindless bore of incoherent, unbelievable nothingness. Reviews and revisits both on YouTube and on Instagram. It's reviews _and_ revisits on both YouTube and Instagram. I'll get back at y'all at the next one. I'm out for now. Peace.